guys, today we're discussing how good Battle Angels of Tyre are.
But just before we get into the video for today, if you are enjoying the content that I'm putting out there, please do consider subscribing, turning on that notifications. It really helps us out. But with that being said, let's get right on into the video for today.
Alright, so discussing Battle Angels Tyre? I'm not sure how to say it, but anyway, the new mono white mythic flying Angel Knight 4/4 for 4 that has Myriad. When it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card if that player has more cards in hand than each other player. Then create a treasure token if that player has more lands than each other player. Then you gain 3 life if that player has more life than each other player. So, with Myriad, you're going to get several of these off because you're going to attack each of your opponents. And each of your opponents is going to be at a different state of the game for the most part throughout the game. So you're going to get some of these things off a lot. Yes, it has to untap to do its thing, but once it's untapped, it's pretty decent. And again, you can put Boots or Greaves or whatnot on it. So there's that. There's always those options. People seem to be like, oh, but it doesn't have haste or whatnot. It doesn't do anything right away. Yes, on its own, it doesn't do anything right away. But yeah, and I'm kind of critical of cards like that as well sometimes. Like, oh, it doesn't do anything right away. Or it doesn't do anything, throughout the rest of the game or whatever. Because the game's not going to end when I cast my 4 mana or 5 mana spell most of the time. Unless I've been really far behind or whatever. Or it's one of the last spells that I'm casting for some reason, just as a defense or whatever it is. And the game's pretty much over, but for the singing, essentially. But it has several decent options. Now, I do think that this is a card that's not really one of those cards that you would include in many decks that have blue or perhaps green, unless you're really into some sort of perhaps token theme of some sort, or some sort of angel theme or knight theme. I don't know about knights, but whatever, or maybe some sort of flying theme of some sorts. But beyond that, any deck that's not in green would probably definitely want this. Any deck that's not in blue would definitely probably want this as well. And even maybe some blue decks, again, might want it. So again, there is certainly space out there for this card because it does several things. It attacks each of your opponents. Hey, look at that. Free damage. What's that? I can populate those tokens as well somehow. And keep more and more and more amassing. That sounds really good. Like, what's that? I'm getting more and more of these things that happen to attack each of my opponents, and they're all copies of it. So that means they have the same text, which means they gain Myriad when they attack, and it gains all of those other abilities to draw cards, create treasures, gain life. The gaining life, probably the least relevant, but, a little bit of life gain here and there can be nice and can be useful for you because, hey, you need to stabilize and stay in the game. So that can be very useful. Yes, sure, your opponents have to be having those lands and those things more than what you do, or that life more than you do, so you can't be just like, mono white life gain or whatnot. But again, it's one of those cards that I feel it would go very well in most decks, and I think this card is a really good card. Now, it's not the best card in the world. I'm not saying that. It is a decent card, yes, and I do think that it would belong in some upgrades for precons. Again, I'm saying this for, that space between, those casually competitive decks where you're just like, oh yes, you know, we're not playing CDH and we're not playing, you know, with precons or upgraded precons, or maybe a heavily upgraded precon or whatnot, unless it's a really good precon, of course, or whatnot. So those sorts of games where you really are trying to find that edge to your deck and be like, oh, okay, cool. What is my deck trying to do? Okay, tokens or whatever. I was thinking of, I actually have put this in my Jetmir list, which I'm still somewhat proxying up, but hey, I thought to myself, well, it's better than the couple cards that I thought would go in this deck. So hey, you know what? Even if it doesn't create maybe as many tokens as what that other card was creating, it creates better tokens. Yes, they go away, but hey, what's that? I've got some things that could populate in that deck. Well, that's cool, so maybe I'll get them. Who knows? That's fine. If I get them, I get them, and I'll get that populate maybe going. Who knows? But again, hey, my commander's there. Oh, what's that? I have, you know, 3 times the angels that I started with now. Oh, what's that? They're doing even more damage? Oh dear. That's going to hurt opponents. Oh dear. You know, so I just thought that it had a lot of applications for that deck specifically. Of course, rather, it has applications for many other decks. But certainly, you know, it has its place out there. It is a, you know, between $13 to $20 card right now, but it's a mythic, so hey, you know, it's there. You know? But it certainly puts in some work, and hey, you know, all through this spoiler season, I think we've talked about way more white cards on the channel here, and I think we've only talked about one black card so far that have been worth talking about, you know. So, you know, we'll certainly talk about more cards from the set for a little while. But again, it goes back to something I was saying in another video a little while ago, that, you know, when you look at some of the cards from some of these sets, you kind of look at what's getting the most support, what's getting the most bang for, you know, the set buff, you know. And white has gotten quite a lot of stuff in this set that I think, you know, even though it's not sometimes going to fit in every single deck like some people think it does, because they think, oh, everyone's playing CDH or whatever, or everyone's tutoring every 5 seconds or whatever, or whatnot, or, you know, that kind of thing. So, or it's just taxing my opponents or whatnot. So it's good anyway. But, you know, that is what it is. But anyway, you can let me know your thoughts down there in the comments below about this card, my thoughts on the card, whatever you want. Am I so wrong? You can let me know if you think so, though I think most people probably won't. I really love hearing you guys, you know, opinions as well, as long as you all keep it civil and whatnot. And most people have been, and whatnot, so that's good. But yeah, I would love to hear what you have to say, and I will respond to any and all comments, because I really love interacting with you guys and talking about all the geeky things we love in EDH. But yeah, if I don't see you down there in those comments, I'll see you in the next one.